Most voice agents sound robotic. You've probably even seen those kind of voice agents before where you call them and you clearly see that it's a robot. The voice sounds unnatural, the poses are weird, and it interrupts you in random moments. Maybe you are even building voice agents yourself. What if I tell you that simple ways to make your voice agent sound more natural? In this video, I'll walk you through some practical ways how you can improve the quality of your AI voice agent. If you're an AI developer trying to improve your voice assistant, or maybe you are a business owner who wants to understand what's currently available in the voice agent market, what is possible and what is not, then this video will be helpful for you. Now, if we haven't met before, I am an AI consultant. I've been working in this industry for the last 7 years, and I worked with more than 90 companies by now. So I have quite a wide experience in real-world projects, and I've seen what works and what doesn't. And I'm happy to share my experience with you here in this channel. Let's dive into it. Okay, how do we improve our voice agents and make them sound more natural? Essentially, there are two ways. First is to improve the voice technology. The second one is to improve how we use the existing voice technology. The first option we as developers cannot really impact. We just have to wait until the research progress is made and we get the better voice technology stack. But we can work with the second one, and we can work within the limitations of the current voice technology. We can compare different tools that are already available at the market and choose the best. And that's what we're going to focus on in this video. First thing is you need to realize that people don't talk the way they type. If you were designing for chatbot before, now you need to do a mindset shift and start designing for voice. Simple differences between voice and text is that voice sentences in a dialogue are usually shorter because we have a shorter memory. Whereas when you rewrite text messages, they can be very long because you can always go back and scroll up and see the text. We don't do that in voice. Another difference is that in voice, we often use self-corrections, pauses, things like that, and we don't do that in text. And there are a lot of other different linguistic differences, and if you never studied linguistics, then you probably don't know those differences. And even me, I studied linguistics during my bachelor's, but that was so long ago that I also don't remember anymore the differences. So what you can do is two things. One, you can use research tools like Elicit, where you can write your request. I, for example, wrote something like, tell me what are the differences between spoken speech and written speech, analyze them, and put them into your prompt in the tone of voice. It will say something like, spoken speech means shorter sentences, syntactic structures, you don't use passive voice, you use active voice, and things like that. Just put that into the prompt. Another thing you can do is analyze the conversational corpora. You need to Google online something like spoken corpora for your specific domain, preferably, and just read the transcripts of conversations that are available online. Get a feeling of how the spoken speech sounds like so that you're able to imitate that in your prompt. Another thing to realize is making AI sound human doesn't mean making it sound better. Human speech actually is quite messy. People mumble, self-correct, rumble. Oftentimes we make unnecessary pauses. We say, like, I mean, way too often. And you probably don't want to imitate this kind of human speech unless you're making an AI brand that is supposed to sound super chill. Instead of setting as a goal, I want to make AI sound more human, I recommend that you choose what kind of human you are trying to imitate. For example, if you are building a sales agent, then probably you are trying to imitate your best performing sales agent. So what you can do is analyze best performing sales transcripts from this best performing sales agent and see how they are doing it. And you can do the analysis manually just by going through those scripts, but you can also use AI and analyze the scripts using a special prompt and ask it to say, okay, what does my best performing sales agent will in this conversation? What does having a good sales conversation over voice actually mean? And you can get a playbook from AI and then paste it into your prompt to make your voice agent imitate your best performing human agent. Another thing here that can also help is to actually talk a head of sales in this case, or head of customer support, and ask them if they have any existing onboarding documents for their sales team, for their customer support team. Probably they do, and they have a lot of guidelines about how a good sales conversation must sound like. For example, maybe they need to always mention the first name in the beginning. There are rules about how long the conversation should be, what kind of questions need to be asked, and you can use that in your prompt as well when you create your voice agent. If your team does have transcripts of best performing agents, then one other trick you can do is to find some examples that you want your voice agent to imitate and paste them into the prompt. And that is already gonna help your voice agent to imitate your best performing human a little bit better. Another trick is understanding that every human conversation has a natural end, and your AI should also be able to understand when is a good time to end the conversation. And that can be, for example, when your AI agent reaches a certain goal, such as scheduling a follow-up call with the caller if we are talking about sales agents, or it can be when the caller said that they don't have any more questions and they said goodbye. So think about it, when would be a good moment to end this kind of conversation, and put this rule into your prompt as well to make your AI system not talk forever. That would be weird and that would be very non-human. Experiment with different voices that you have available in the tool that you are using. Just listen to all of them and ask your colleagues to vote for the one that they like the best, and run some experiments testing with your users which voice they react to better. My favorite at the moment, for example, is Nicholas from Rhyme, and VoiceFlow has an integration with their library. Actually, Rhyme voices at the moment are my favorites. They sound really chill and natural, and sometimes a little bit too chill. Like, I can't imagine Nicholas' voice to be used in customer support settings or sales settings, but if I'm making something more low-key, then I think that's the way to go, and it definitely does sound more human to me. You can also play around with the voice settings that are available in the platform that you're using. In most of the platforms, you can adjust how long the voice agent waits until it starts producing the response. So if you make it shorter, then pauses are going to be shorter, and that's going to sound a little bit more natural. You can also choose between different models, voice models. Some generate speech faster, some take longer to generate the speech, so that can also affect the latency. We do need to admit that one of the biggest problems with the current voice technology as of March 2025 is the latency. And while you can play around with the voice settings that I just mentioned, latency is still a big issue, but there are a few hacks to help you with that. For example, in VoiceFlow, there is this async function that allows you to start generating your answer while something else is being said. So what you can do is, the user says something, then you say something like, let me think, which can be a static response, so it can be said really quickly. And while this let me think is being said, the LLM is already starting to generate the speech at the background. So once the chatbot finishes saying let me think, then the actual response is already generated and the voice assistant already says it. So for the caller, it sounds like there is no pauses. If you don't like this idea of really static, let me think, and things like that, which does sometimes sound a little bit off, what you can do instead is to use a cheaper, faster model like GPT 3.5 to generate this very first response, which will be similar to, let me think, but then it will take context into account, so it will sound a little bit more natural, and the rest is the same. The last idea is a little bit more advanced. What you need to understand is that most LLMs, like GPT-4, GPT 3.5, and others, they're trained on a big amount of written text. So it's not even conversational text. So those LLMs are not trained to generate written conversations, and they're definitely also not trained to generate spoken conversations. And just like we discussed in point number 1, spoken speech is different from the written speech. So it's a little bit weird to expect from LLMs like GPT-4o to generate fluent spoken speech. What you can do to improve it is fine-tuning those models on your spoken corpora. If you do have data from your best performing agents, then you can prepare the training data set and fine-tune your OpenAI models on that data, and then it will already imitate the spoken speech a little bit better, and the tone of voice will be a little bit better. The next step, though, I think would be audio in, audio out kind of models. There is a really great article that got released this week by The Batch that explains what's the difference. So this is how most of the voice platforms currently work. You get audio in, then there is speech to text transcribing the audio. Then we are using LLMs on text. So the LLMs that were trained to generate written text. And then we are taking this text and we are generating the speech and we get the audio out. And this is also one of the reasons why the latency is so slow, why we are not capturing emotion so well, because in those different steps, a lot of things are being missed. We now do start to have those audio in, audio out models. What that means is that instead of having this 3 steps, there is just one model that takes audio in and it generates the audio without this intermediate LLM generation step. OpenAI Real-Time API already provides such models. The problem with this audio in and audio out models is that it's much harder to control the output of those models and set the guardrails. So those are not being used in the really sensitive applications. The hallucinations are very critical, which, to be honest, is most applications. But I think we're going to get there in 1 year for sure, probably much faster. And I believe that the future voice technology is going to be using end-to-end models instead of this 3-step pipeline. These were some of the tricks to help you make your voice agent a little bit more natural. Voice technology is currently developing with the speed of light, and there are tons of tools for voice already available, and new ones are being developed all the time, and platforms keep adding new voice features. So I'm pretty sure that we are going to get even better voice assistants already in a couple of months. I'm trying to keep up to date with the voice technologies that have been available at the moment. I recently created a library of all the voice tools that I know of, and I put that in a Notion table. If you want access to that voice library, there is a link to that in the comments down below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. I plan to share more insights like this on this channel from my work as an AI consultant. I am planning to do technical breakdowns, share best practices, and real business case studies. So subscribe if you don't want to miss what's next. And I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I see you in the next one. Take care.